Would you like fraud with that? $23 billion a year in revenue, 69 million customers every single day, and 40,000 stores globally. McDonald's is the largest restaurant chain in history, but the story for how it was created gets a pretty bad reputation. Where in 2016, the movie The Founder came out with Michael Keaton, which in 2021 surged on Netflix, becoming the most streamed movie in the world. And the movie told the story of two humble guys in California named the McDonald's brothers who were swindled by a man named Ray Kroc. And it does present McDonald's as this shame in American business history. But was this story actually true, or was this just a movie? And did Ray Kroc steal McDonald's, or was that just one part of the ingredients? And I'm Charles Peralo here, let's learn something. In the movie The Founder, Ray Kroc is basically presented as this very griftery, door-to-door salesman, a man in his mid-50s with this kind of junk marriage selling milkshake machines door-to-door, who was given an opportunity by the McDonald's brothers who out of pity just wanted to give him a chance. But the movie doesn't get things right, and that's that Ray Kroc was already a successful businessman pre-McDonald's. And for Ray Kroc's history, he actually started off as an ambulance driver in World War I, lying about his age, not saying he was 15 so he can get in. And he actually developed a friendship with Walt Disney, who worked with him where they were both ambulance drivers together. And after the war, Ray Kroc did try multiple businesses such as music, selling real estate, and also opening up some of his own restaurants that didn't work. And then eventually did find himself as a salesman for a company called the Lily Tulip Cup Company, where he actually became the #1 salesman for the company, was in charge of all Midwest operations, and sold more than anyone else. And from doing that business, he meets an inventor and ice cream shop owner named Earl Prince. And Earl Prince did create a machine for making milkshakes quicker called the multi-mixer. So Ray Kroc became the first employee for the company called Prince Castle Mixers, selling multi-mixers. And running all sales, Ray Kroc was able to put multi-mixers into thousands of restaurants. And Ray Kroc pre-McDonald's was actually a pretty wealthy man, where adjusted for inflation, he would be a millionaire today. But then competition got into the way where Hamilton Beach began introducing similar products to the multi-mixers but at much lower prices. So Ray Kroc went from somebody who was running sales for a multi-million-dollar business to a company that was struggling overnight. So he wasn't this big success story, but he definitely wasn't the loser the movie portrayed, where he did understand restaurants and had contact with restaurants throughout the entire United States. So on paper, because of that, he would be a very good fit to run a restaurant franchise. And that's where the next group comes in, the McDonald's brothers. The McDonald's brothers in real life and in the movie were one thing, and that's amazing thinkers. But for how unique McDonald's was when they launched it is pretty debatable, where the movie presents them as these people who pioneered the idea of assembly-line food. But the truth is, McDonald's just wasn't quite as unique as some people might think, where Burger King did come out 1 year before McDonald's launched as a franchise, and In-N-Out was around 7 years before McDonald's came out as a franchise and 2 years before the first McDonald's. And the big reason for McDonald's initial success wasn't the fast food, but actually just the real estate, where they definitely had the best piece of land in San Bernardino, where they were right next to a high school on the busiest street in the area and did have a factory nearby. And before they even got into fast food, it was a successful drive-in diner. And before they ever met Ray Kroc, they did try opening franchises up with other people as well as doing corporate stores, but it just never worked. So looking at how In-N-Out was already out, Burger King was a growing chain, and there were other attempts at burger chains around. If the McDonald's brothers controlled everything, it's likely they never would have left San Bernardino. And what The Founder really didn't discuss as a movie was what Ray Kroc actually brought to the table. Ray Kroc signed with McDonald's brothers in 1955 to make them a franchise, where he mortgaged his home and quit his business, which in today's money would be paying him over $500,000 a year. And he did all of this to open up the first McDonald's franchise over 1,000 miles away from where the San Bernardino location was, starting a restaurant from scratch with pretty much no brand in Illinois. And there was this 6-year period from the first McDonald's franchise to Ray Kroc buying out the McDonald's brothers in 1961. And what The Founder didn't show was just how much Ray Kroc was able to grow in that time period, where from 1955 to 1961, completely on his own, he was able to go from 1 store to 228 stores. Which, just to put that in perspective, that means Ray Kroc was in 6 years able to build the largest restaurant franchise in the US. And this was 100% Ray Kroc leading everything with no help from the McDonald's brothers. And the McDonald's brothers did get their royalty of 1.9%, but they never actually did anything. Where in the entire 6-year process, they never even visited one franchise. But what they did do a lot was say no, rejecting any changes to the menu or any changes at all.
The nerve of this guy.
And they weren't even working 1 hour a week on the franchise company, but still were making more money than Ray Kroc did, who mortgaged his house. And this is important to remember because in the movie The Founder, it does present this idea that Ray Kroc only had 10 to 20 locations, felt big, and then tried to screw over the McDonald's brothers. But it was actually him in a period of 6 years building the largest restaurant chain ever and never getting a single thank you from the brothers. And then there's this whole story, the McDonald's brothers were ripped off. We're looking at the story told in The Founder, there is this myth that Ray Kroc forced the McDonald's brothers to sell, but truth is, that never actually happened. where Ray Kroc was paying them their royalties every single month on time, and they did still own part of the business. But the real issue was the McDonald's brothers did want creative control, which was something tougher to hold on to because Ray Kroc wanted to expand to 1,000 stores, and keeping with the vision of two guys that weren't involved with the actual franchise was tough. And Ray Kroc did offer them a variety of deals, one being they would lose creative control for money but still keep equity in the company. But eventually the McDonald's brothers found it stressful and just wanted a buyout. And at the end of the day, they were given a $2.7 million check for their equity at McDonald's, which today $2.7 million would seem like a ripoff, but that's also 1961 money, which $2.7 million in 1961 would be the equivalent to $23 million today. Plus at the same time, they did get to keep their original restaurant, which the movie makes Ray Kroc seem like a bad guy opening up McDonald's across the street and wiping them out. And that did actually happen, but not quite the way the movie made it seem, where Ray Kroc did actually offer the McDonald's brothers a chance to keep the store as a McDonald's, but all he wanted was for them to pay a royalty like the other franchisees were. But the McDonald's brothers got offended, pulled out of that deal, and decided to just rename the store the Big M instead. And eventually they gave the shop to their longtime employees, but nobody can say those longtime employees were good business operators, and that might be why they failed. But by far the most debated point for the history of McDonald's, Ray Kroc, and the movie The Founder was the 1% royalty.
Your 1% cut of future corporate earnings will have to be carried out on a handshake basis.
Where the movie The Founder makes the claim that Ray Kroc did promise the McDonald's brothers a 1% royalty in a handshake deal, which if it was true, it would be very clear robbery from Ray Kroc, but who says it's true? Which, looking at the story, the McDonald's brothers did feel Ray Kroc was a shady guy and didn't trust him, which makes it very strange that they would take a handshake deal from somebody they didn't trust. And the McDonald's brothers pre-buyout were already making 1.9% on the royalty, so getting paid $2.7 million to have the royalty drop from 1.9% to 1% doesn't make a lot of sense. So that puts another idea out there, and that's the McDonald's brothers simply made up the 1% royalty promise. Which, what sounds more likely? These two brothers who weren't forced to sell their company but get millions of dollars, and then when they don't get part of the deal, they never actually sue Ray Kroc for that royalty. Or the McDonald's brothers years later were just embarrassed by the deal they took, so they just lied that they were offered something else and cheated. And the whole story of a 1% handshake deal just made them feel like the victims instead of those who were foolish. Which, just to be clear, either story could have happened. But with no lawsuits or no letters asking Ray Kroc to honor his word, it just seems very bizarre the McDonald's brothers would take a handshake deal from someone they hated. So it just makes a case that this whole 1% thing is a lie. And just doing this video, I really love the movie The Founder. And this isn't a dig in Michael Keaton or anyone involved in the film, but it is a discussion on fact versus fiction, where there's a name like McDonald's, so of course there's money in telling the story of it, but the story itself might be kind of boring, where the real story probably went something like this. Wealthy salesman meets wealthy restaurant owners, grows the chain over a period of 6 years, the two groups disagree, the salesman and the restaurant owners disagree about a few things, McDonald's brothers make millions of dollars off the buyout, Ray Kroc makes billions off growing the company. The end. So The Founder, like all movies, does have to dramatize things to sell tickets, which isn't saying everything's false, but just the fact that movies do have to amplify history to sell tickets. And it is something people need to be more aware of, knowing life isn't a movie. And doing this video, by the way, I've never actually had a Big Mac before, so making a video about McDonald's, I might as well give it a shot. And let's see how this is. It's kind of weird. Not for me. Not at all. With that, I'm Charles Peralo. Subscribe if you learned something.